Hello and welcome to everyone. We are doing the Thursday night live Q&A podcast for the Late Mail crew. I've got Rossco, I've got Cookie, I've got SurvivTuber. How are you guys going, Cookie?
Yeah, good scoop. Evening, mate. Glad to get into it. A lot to talk about, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I really like this week. It's a really easy week for the backing up buys, but I think it's a hard week for fantasy in general, just because there's so many strategies you can go. So we should get some good questions. What about you, Roscoe? Have you put any questions of your own in?
I've put one to you, but you'll get to it. It's basically we'll get to it. Yeah, I've given you one, but you're right. I think there's going to be some pretty short teams this week, playing 14, 15, 16 players. So there's a bit of carnage. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think Cookie alluded to pre-potty that Titans boys are backing up, so that's a bit of a bonus for DeFi owners and Brimson owners. But yeah, get cracking, lads.
Yeah, that'll be great. All right, we start off with Timmy. He's got a draft question first up, bit of different start. Would you play Sean O'Sullivan or Toby Sexton? They're both kind of really hard to predict. Hey, I'm not sure which way I'd go there. I'd almost tend to go Sexton with the way that the Dolphins and Sean O'Sullivan have been going recently, but it's a tough ask. What do you reckon, SurvivTuber? Who would you go?
I'd probably go Sexton as well. Dolphins, they haven't been really the best team compared to what SOS was like before, so it's kind of a punt. Well, Sexton played really well against the Bunnies last week.
Yeah, I think, well, at the beginning of the year, it was Cody Nikarima and O'Sullivan as well. And both Katoa and Milford can kick a little bit more. So moving forward, maybe he's not going to be as good as we hoped, but still not it's not quite a settled question. All right, we'll move on. And we've got Grift giving Cookie a bit of stick. But yeah, we've got a little bit of a video that Cookie went up on the website, on their own website the other day, and that went around here, and we've been talking about it a little bit. All right. G'day, Scoop. The best host of the Q&A, so this one is just for you. Oh, look at that. Everyone is talking of guns to pick up, but what are the guns you think people should avoid, and when should people have our final team sorted? That's a pretty good question, because if you set on your strategy this week, if you've got like 8 or 9 trades and you use 3 or 4, then you're going to be stuck for the run home. The grind is going to be started, and there's not a lot you're going to be able to do. And if you pick the wrong ones, you could be bleeding 5 points, 10 points a week in that position compared to guys who have got the gun you probably should have picked. So, look, there's not really a lot I would say are out and out complete avoids that seem really good. I mean, if you're trying to bring in guys like IPAP, you probably shouldn't be, and you should be going for Bateman and things like that. I would probably mostly generalize it to guys that are either going to miss round 27, either from being in the Eels team or potentially being rested like some of the Penrith boys often do. So I've done something like that in my team. Payne Haas is going to miss 2 matches in the run home, but I have avoided picking up Isaiah just because, well, there's a chance that he won't play huge minutes this week, and there's a very good chance that he'll be missing the last week of the year anyway. And then I've wasted a couple of trades for like 1 extra game that, well, might not have really outscored Haas by that much, really. So I don't know. Maybe some of the Penrith boys, except for maybe, I don't know. It's tough because there's a lot of really good players in that team. What are we sort of
I've got
thinking
one
along those
scoop.
lines? Yep.
I reckon I'd avoid AFB. He's been on a bit of a slide the last couple of weeks. I just think you can get Cameron Murray next week at 110k cheaper than AFB for what's going to probably both average mid-50s, you know?
Yeah, I don't mind that shout. I have
Bunny still
seen a
have a
few
bunch
people
of.
getting AFB. Yeah, what was that, SurvivTuber?
I'm just gonna say Bunny's like I think they have 2 buys left or only 1. So I mean Murray isn't really the best option still. Then if you have a bunch of outs per week.
Yeah, from next week he's a better option, but yeah, this week, I mean, you've got Haas
Yeah.
and you've got Murray missing too, so I mean, you don't want to buy somebody who's not even playing ideally. So yeah. Rossco, do you have any particular plays in mind when you sold that question, or just sort of tossing through options, and if there's a couple that people should look to avoid, really?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I'm going to disagree with Cookie and say Murray was the one that I was actually tossing up as one to avoid, because if you take into his buy round, or any of these blokes with the buy round, particularly the Eels boys and Penrith and South, in those last 3 rounds, it's pretty crucial. That's like the make or break season of your head to head and like the overall season. So Murray, I'm not going to get him purely for the fact that you got to take into account that buy that he's missing. So are we considering Murray, or like you, Scoop? I don't think you are you?
No, I'm not really considering him. I think most of us have got enough guys that are going to easily average 60 plus that I can afford to avoid him. And yeah, a couple of those South players honestly could be like that. The only one that might be the exception is if Latrell comes back hitting the ground running and absolutely killing it, because we know he has the potential to be far and away the best wing fullback, whereas Murray, there's plenty of other mids that'll average better than him.
Totally agree. Yeah, but Latrell's ceiling's amazing. So yeah, you can take that risk. Another one is like those Brisbane boys, because they've got that awkward. What is it?
25, I
Off the
think.
top of my head, is it 23, 25? Yeah. That's awkward. That's awkward. So like the likes of Reece Walsh, again, great ceiling, but and you got Haas, Carrigan. It's really weird. Next year we're going to be better for this year in terms of like planning for buys and have our strategies down better, because it's like sort of we're learning as we go this year. But yeah, it's hard because I want to say players, but again, they're good players. I don't want to like shoot myself in the foot. But yeah, I thought we might have had a couple that we'd all agree on. But yeah, we're all different.
Just Scoop, just on Murray, I reckon if you're carrying one South player, it's okay. If you're carrying 2 South players and one of them's Murray, then I don't think it's okay. But if it's only going to be your only South player, I reckon it's a steal at 650. But you wouldn't be able to go down the Latrell route if you had Murray.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it boxes you in a little bit. Same with guys who bought Maddo. It sort of boxes them into not being able to buy any more Eels players. Like, I don't think you can pick up Moses. I mean, he misses round 27, but you've got guys like Munster, DC floating around. If you have Moses, do not sell him unless you're moving him to Cleary in a couple of weeks. He'll be very good, probably even average more than those, except for maybe Cleary. So yeah, I wouldn't go chasing him though. Yeah, it's a tough one. There's a few guys, but yeah, we disagree on a few. Okay, next question. Cookie, after our last week's talk, we've decided to roll with keeping my centre wing as is ensuring every other position is as strong as possible. In saying this, thoughts on the run home team. If Hopgood messes up, we can move Yo down to Murray or DCE and upgrade Simpkin to 500k player. Moved up from 3400 rank after a strong last round, as long as all backup running with 17 have Cleary cover just. Alright, so we'll have a look at his team here. He starts up the top with Harry Grant. That's good. That's who you want there. We've got Hopgood, Tohu Harris, and Haas, who's currently out. Fifita, Nikora, captain on the chin with VC on Hines, I don't mind that actually. Like if Cleary comes back and kills it, it'll be great. And if he's out, well, then you've just got Hines anyway. Ramin, Lemuelu, and then wing fullback, Ponga, Drinkwater, Tedesco. And then his bench, he's got Johnson, Bateman, DeBellin, Horsburgh, Aaron Clark, Piakura, Suali'i, Simpkin. All right, so it was pretty good up until that
Bloody
last
hell. That is an amazing team. It's
Yeah.
pretty stacked.
That was pretty strong to have all of Fifita, Grant, and Cleary already. Yeah, I'd be interested to know how many trades he has left, because guys like Simpkin could definitely be cashed out this week, but I mean,
Does he have 500k on the dot to spend if he sells Simkin?
I don't know, but I'd assume
Because
it'd
he could
be
get like a
about that.
Max King or a Clemmer.
Yeah,
I think Max
could
King's
be.
like 5k.
Yeah, Max King could definitely be a play for him. Well, who else has he got as mids? He's got
He doesn't have another
Horsburgh
mid
and
to cover
DeBellin.
for Haas.
Yeah, so after this round, he'll be sweet for mids. So I don't mind
Yeah.
the Max King play, and he considers 18th man for the year, or something along those lines. Wait, will he be 18th man though? Yes,
King?
okay.
The only position I'm looking, sorry, Cookie, I'll just jump in quickly. The only position that I'm seeing in his team as a real sort of, he doesn't really have many weaknesses, but it'd be his centres, right? Like Ramian and Lemu, they're a bit rocks and diamonds at the moment. So are we looking at solidifying the centre position with like a Joey Manu or someone of it, like a Targo or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be ideal. He's got Suali'i on the wing as a backup, but even that's a bit dodgy. I think this is the type of thing we were talking about where it's all right, but it might bleed 5 to 10 points compared to guys who have other guns there. So, look, they'll do, but yeah, if you get, well, even like Valentine Holmes is going absolutely huge with the Cowboys resurgence, but he does have that late buy. There's a couple of guys who could be doing a little bit better, especially guys like Manu, but yeah, look.
Just for his team scoop, if like I'm just saying it's a chance. If SJ's are laid out this week and he doesn't play Saturday because the baby's due any day now, and then he has the buy upcoming, I'd almost consider, if he has enough trades left, going SJ to DCE, and then that also frees up funds to give him 100k to upgrade one of those centers.
Yeah, that's definitely a play too. I was thinking of something like that myself, except in my own personal team, I've already got DC and Munster as bring-ins this week. So, but yeah, like with guys like Aaron Clark, Piakura, Joseph Suali'i, Joe Simpkin in his team already, I reckon that extra 100k could be pretty valuable. Like, I really don't see a place for Aaron Clark in people's fantasy teams. Like, I can get the other three, but if you could like cash out Simpkin to like a proper, I don't even know if I want to go for a proper cash out because he's got a few of those types of players already, and then Aaron Clark to a Max King with the Johnson money. But it really depends on how many trades he has left, I think. So yeah, pretty strong team, looks pretty solid. I would probably go towards the Max King route because you've got good players for the run home anyway. You don't need another gun in the mids. Okay. Any other comments on that before we move on? No. All right.
Now let's move on, mate.
Yeah, let's look at Durr's team now. He says, I'm looking at this. I could do Preston to Butcher in one trade, but I think that's too sideways. So I think Preston, Simpkin to Yo and Garlic. Moving forward, my trade outs are Smith, Valence Tavare, Bula maybe, Sorensen maybe. I'll now target Fifita and Horsburgh to finish off my final 17. Am I missing anything that I should target this week? Well, now that we've got confirmation that the Titans players will back up, it would be really tempting to go for Fifita. Does he need a mid this week? Does Sorensen have mid-duel?
I believe he does, yes.
Yeah, well, I would
Yes, he
probably
does.
just
Yeah.
plug Sorensen there, not buy Yo and get Fifita, and then look to do Yo at some other point, or not at all, because he's a chance of being rested in the final round. Whereas, like, if the Titans are even any hope of making the finals at all, Fifita will play 80 minutes in round 27. Let's have another look at his team in full. Who's he got? Okay, Grant, Tohu Harris, Hopgood. He's put in Yo there for now. Bateman, Sorensen, Hines, Johnston, Manu, Penasini, Ponga, Drinkwater, Garrick, and then a bench of Moses, Lemuelu, Brimson, DeBellin, Bula, Sandon Smith, Bronson Garlick, and Valence Tavare. What has he done? He's done Preston Simpkin to Yo and Garlic. I'd be interested to know how much spare cash he has, because Fifita is 25k more than Yo or something like that. But
He's got 64k Scoop, so he's got enough.
ooh, I would
Fifita's 852.
I would honestly be tempted to try and get up to like a Harrison Graham or something like that, because I think I heard from the NRL Physio's Magic Sponge podcast that the Dolphins medical staff reckon there's more wrong than just his AC joint. It could be labrum damage and things like that. And look, if Harrison Graham is a 1 week cash out red dot that scores all right this week, that's not ideal, but it's not the worst. But if he gets a bunch more games because Jeremy Marshall continues to manage this, or just at some point gets ruled out properly, then he'll be a fantastic option and much, much better than someone like Garlic at what, about 40k difference. So that's my opinion. If you can't make that move,
And
you
Graham,
can still do it.
276.
Yeah, it's like a 40 or 50k difference or something. But if you can make that, I probably like that better. Yeah, what do you guys reckon regarding Isaiah Yo, Fifita, Horsburgh, guys like that?
I'm an owner of Fifita and Horse, so Yo's the one that I don't mind, but you know me from last night's scoop. I'm taking those cheaper mids at this stage and taking a bit of a gamble. So yeah, I can see the attraction to Yo, but are we bidding Preston? Definitely.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was a big advocate for Holding, but then I found out that he switched sides and Josh Adokar pulled his hammy right at the death in Origin. So that's
Yeah.
the end of him. Preston was averaging like 58 when Josh Adokar was in the team on that left side. But yeah, no more. He's probably gone this week for me.
See you, champ.
I might be holding, guys, for one more week. I might have to, and then
look,
reassess next week.
It's pretty fine. I mean, he's not going to lose that much cash, and he'll put a 40 up for you at the very least. You'd expect. So
Yeah,
not the worst.
his break even's 56.
Yeah, well, might be 10k. He loses something like that. Would you guys sell Bula, given that he has Ponga, Drinkwater, Garrick, and Brimson already?
I feel this is the question of the week, really.
Yeah,
and no one really has given me a solidifying answer to it, Scoop. So I can see the attraction for the high break even, and his past 2 or 3 games is going to. But also, you said like the next 2 games, he's got Knights and Dragons, I believe. Or yeah, so like he's got the potential to score the 60s. So who knows?
Yeah, that's the
It's
thing.
50-50 with Bula. Apple's back this week, but we don't know how much he does.
Yeah, and that's also one big thing. As soon as RP went, the Tigers fell in a hole and Bula basically crashed. So is that a much bigger factor than we thought? Or is it just the Tigers doing other things? It's really tough. I think if you've got a few trades up your sleeve and a few wing fullbacks, you can definitely trade him. I didn't even think about trading him because I've got a couple of other really good wing fullback guns. But if you say have him as your 4th wing fullback and you don't really have like other strong guys, I can definitely see a pretty decent case for holding long term.
I'm trading Scoop. I'm going Bula to Edwards.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good upgrade. But yeah, if you can't afford to get him out, or like there's other priorities, you can definitely. It's hard to say you can definitely give him away because you'll almost certainly lose money unless he goes huge. But it's not the
Yeah,
worst
the
idea
break
to
even's
wait and
about
see.
60.
Yeah, it's not the worst idea to wait and see what happens with him. That didn't help at all, Rossco, but like, there you go.
See what I mean? Like everyone's throwing up valid arguments. So yeah, it's tough, but yeah, I can see the attraction of doing either. So
Yeah,
flip a coin, lads, and go with your gut.
I've gone with the strategy of telling people that if you've got plenty of wing fullbacks or plenty of trades, get rid of him. If you don't, definitely hold. And that's what I think is probably the best approach. Yeah. Oh, and then look at that. The very next question, hold Bula or CNK is my wing fullback cover for the rest of the year. So that implies probably fourth wing fullback. Would you hold Bula or would you go CNK with a soft Warriors draw, but he still only managed, 27 in a huge drubbing last week? What do you reckon, SurvivTuber? No, might have lost him. What do you reckon, Cookie? Bula or CNK?
It's such a hard one, but I know the Warriors have a bye, but the Warriors have a soft draw on the run home. Do you have it in front of you? I know they play the Dolphins and they play a lot of teams outside the 8, I think, after this week.
I don't
So
have it up at the moment,
probably,
but it is very good. That's why there was argument for holding Sean Johnson all year, even before he just continued to pump out those scores. So, and that's the
I'll
thing
just
too.
bring it up. Hold on.
Yeah.
So they've got Cronulla and Canberra.
Mm.
Then they have their bye. And then their last 5 games are Gold Coast, Tigers, Manly, St. George, and the Dolphins.
Oh, look, I could see the argument for selling Sean Johnson right now for those tough games and the ones
Yeah.
that he'll miss, but that is a juicy last 5.
Yeah.
So yeah, that also locks it in too, because you're in for the long haul. You might have a couple of down games for CNK through that, but then at the end
Yeah.
he could come good. So yeah, it's definitely for the rest of the year committal.
Yeah, I'd be trading Bula.
Yeah, I think I'd probably hold CNK as well. That's what I've been telling people between these two. Anyone else have any differing opinions, or anyone just that?
The only thing is CNK has a bye in round 22. Bula doesn't have anything left.
Yeah, if you have a bunch of Warriors, I can definitely see the appeal of trading. Like if you've got Tohu Harris, Sean Johnson, and CNK, that could be an argument to hold Bula over him. But otherwise, I'd personally hold CNK over Bula. Okay, we got more stuff from Rossco. Can Cookie put his trades on the line? Let his fans know what he's doing once. Or what are you looking at this week, Cookie? Or are you in a bit of a conundrum and still haven't figured it out yet?
Well, I've got a couple of them sorted. So I'm looking at Bula to Edwards, as I said. And I'm down a mid because there's no Horse, there's no Haas, and there's no DeBellin. So I'm thinking Alex Johnston can go now, and he can go to Max King. So yeah, those would be the 2 that are locked in, and I've still got 480k spare. Then I'm just trying to decide whether I sell Preston to Fifita or whether I sell Brimson to Fifita. So I'm just weighing that up. And then there's also the thing around, will SJ play or not? Now, if I do the Brimson to Fifita, I don't have enough to get to SJ to Cleary. So I'd have to look at SJ to DCE if SJ is out, and then try and get Cleary in next week through other means.
Surely that's pretty
So that's where I'm at.
close, though. Like, you've got 498k after those two trades, or
A 481.
before after those two trades, or before those two trades.
After those two, I've got 481k spare.
So
Yeah, if I do Brimson
Preston-
to Fifita, it leaves me 143,
Brimson's
which only gets me to
500, isn't it?
972.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 20k short. So that's why I'm toying with this Murray idea of a Hopgood to a Murray, so it frees up more cash next week if I need to get Cleary another way.
Look, if you're going to spend so many trades just trying to get Cleary if you have to, I'd probably almost just, dare I say it, I'd probably bring him in before Fifita and then figure out how to get Fifita. I mean, for me, Fifita's the number one priority, but if you're going to spend so many trades on Cleary, I reckon you might as well just get him now and then sideways trade Hopgood to Fifita or something.
Potentially, yeah. Issue is I'm going to have to maybe burn trades to get Fifita as well. I'll have to weigh it up with the bank and everything.
Yeah, so those are the two options. Yeah, my personal trades, I'm absolutely sending it this week. I managed to save 3 before we got in, so I had 11 down to 7 now. I've gone Bula, Preston, Simpkin, and Alex Johnston to David Fifita, Munster, DCE, and Harrison Graham. So 3 big guns going for the 2 discount gun halves. And I think I'm going to miss Cleary unless there's an injury where I can just straight swap, or Hopgood falls off a cliff or something along those lines. He's the first one to come in next. But yeah, for the moment, we'll ride without Cleary.
I like the Munster shout. I might join you on that, Scoop.
Yeah.
I can get Cleary for Brimson, Scoop, but it only leaves 2k spare.
Oh, is it meant to be? I don't know.
So I'd have to I'd then have to do a downgrade next week. Hopgood to Murray anyway, and Preston I'd have to still do trades to, I'd be using the same amount.
Yeah. I guess it just depends who you fear owning or not owning more, and I reckon given that Hines can cover Cleary in a position, I just really think Fifita's the one you need to go for. But I mean, there's going to be different strategies, and that's why the end of the year can be so interesting because there's very many ways to go about it. All right, so we'll go to the next question. This is probably the second biggest question of the week after Bula, and that is Munster or DCE. If you're not going Cleary or you're getting a Fifita or whatever, there's a good chance you're going to be getting Munster or DCE. So VB's hardest workers reckons he's going to lean Munster as he can absolutely explode in games, and he's very fun to watch. Which way would you go? Which way would you go, Griff? If we got Griff? Maybe. What about Rossco?
Yeah, so I think I just alluded to it. So I started the season with DCE and I love him, and I could well get him back in for a Hopgood down the track in the next couple of weeks. But at this stage, I think this week I might bring in Munster as a Hail Mary, counteract Cleary owners, I think.
Yeah, it could definitely.
And I'm with VB. I love watching him play. I think he's one of the most exciting players in the league. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, I couldn't split them myself, and I had the cash to do it, so I brought in both. See if I can get double the fun.
I think when Gerbo's there, DCE's score goes up a lot higher. So
yeah,
I think Gerbo being back.
I looked into this a little bit actually. There's a lot of arguments both ways. So DCE when Gerbo plays, average goes up. DCE when Turbo doesn't play, gets his hands on the ball more, and actually averages 5 points more. But also, he averages a lot less with Schuster in the halves. The attack doesn't work quite right, and so far, the one game that we've looked at is recently DC's put up a good score. Did take him 2 tries, but 72 you'd take every day of the week. Munster, Storm always rev up for the run home, like always. We constantly think, oh, can the Storm do it again? And yes, they can. Last 2 seasons, he's averaged 67 and 69 post Origin. One of them was V'landys Ball, and the second one was where he played a couple of those crazy fullback games where he just went absolutely mental. But still, we just know that the Storm and Munster can go crazy in the run home. So if I had to pick one, because I think are slightly leaning DC, I would also go Munster to try and break down the gap between me and the top 100. But yeah, I've got both, so I don't know. It was too hard for me to pick. Any thoughts on that, SurvivTuber? DC not Cleary, Munster for you?
Munster, in my opinion.
Yeah, righto.
Yeah, Munster.
A Munster bunch. What do we got next? Talking about Damien Cook and South Boys in Origin. Yeah, it's. I wonder how long Cody Walker is gonna stay in that spot given his age, but it was a fantastic performance. It'd be a little bit rough on him to drop him, but I mean, who knows what can happen if Freddie gets saved as coach. Okay. Now we're down to Leeway81. We've got another team. He has looked at Turpin to Tom Ale, Sean Johnson to Cleary, Bula to Tino, and Totola to a 462k player. I don't know if I'm in love with those trades, particularly bringing in, like, Tom Ale's not the worst cash down mid, but like, I think you can either get a little bit more points this week purely from Palacia if the Broncos boys don't back up. I think he averages 40 starting prop, or you just go down to a proper basement 220 guy. What has he got for his team? So he's got Grant, Haas, Madison, Fanua Blake, Bateman, Preston, Hines, Johnson. Oh, he's got the double eels, Simonson and Panasini as centres. That's interesting. Ponga, Drinkwater, Garrick. On his bench, he's got Mulatalo, Boyd, Chris, Munro, Totola, Turpin, Bula, and Weeks. Okay, so down the bottom, there's a little bit of work. But, yeah, I don't know if I'd be trading Sean Johnson with that team value. I think I'd just look to spread. I'd look to spread the value a little bit more for this case and go after those guys like DCE and Munster to fill up the spots rather than sort of having to play like a Totola or a Mulatalo from week to week. What do you guys reckon? Give him a bit more money for that other trade too if he went through with it.
With his team value, I personally think he might even be best. Can he hold Bula this week and then look to get Murray next week? Because it saves 185k less than Tino. And it might give him some more options.
Yeah, so this could be a pretty solid shout. Instead of going really expensive for Cleary and Tino for a combined, $1,700, if you could get, and then nearly 500k for the last player, if you got like Munster, DCE,
Max
and
King.
someone, I think that would spread the money and the points a lot better across his team. But yeah, who's he got as backup wing fullback? Bula and Mulatalo. What do we do with Mulatalo as well? Because like Sharks run home's pretty good as well, but last week dropped an absolute stinker on anyone that picked him up. I think it was single digits. So,
Well, to be fair, Sharks did not go to Mulatalo's side at all. It was all Katoa.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's been opposite for most of the year.
But to be fair, if you think about it, Tigers all year have led around on the right side edge, so that's probably smart for Sharks. We don't know if they
Yes.
do that next week as well.
Yeah, so you reckon they might switch back and Mulatalo bounces back?
Yeah, probably, because Katoa got lucky he was on the right side. Tigers
Yeah.
cannot defend on that side, so like every team scores there.
Yeah, that could be a reason as well. How would you go about approaching trades for Liwa? Would you go Tom Ale, Cleary, Tino? Would you bring any of them in? Would you avoid trading out Johnson and then trade someone else out like a Tana Boyd?
Maybe sell Tanner Boyd instead. Then you
Or
can
he's
get like
got
a better player.
Preston there too.
Mm.
He
If
could go Tanner Boyd to Max King if he wants.
Yeah, I think the way I'd go about these trades is instead of going Johnson up to Cleary, I would go Boyd up to Munster or DCE, and then the rest of the trades would be pretty similar. Would that give him more money or less money? More, I think. So that might let Totola go to Max King, and then yeah, that would be pretty solid trades. I'd say.
It would probably be similar. Probably like a few K more.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's only like it's 100K difference between SGen, Cleary, and Boyd and DCE/Munster. So it's similar.
Yeah, I think Johnson to Cleary is a little bit more, so there's a chance you could squeeze it back. If he can't, well then maybe you could do like Johnson to Munster or something else along those lines. But yeah, that something like that might work. Few options you could do there, Liwa. Now a question from you, SurvivTuber. Do we think Tavare gets the spot back in the team? And also, what do we think of Bula as an 18th man? I personally think that he will get a spot back at some time. I think it's just going to be more of what we've seen. He'll be there some weeks, he'll be there other weeks. It's very interesting to see that the Hammer center and Cody Nikarima fullback has persisted. I really wasn't expecting that. But, I mean, if Hammer doesn't back up, Tavare gets a game. If somebody goes down or there's an injury, Tavare comes in. That's what's going to happen. I think it's sort of a Harrison Graham situation, but I don't know, a little bit more likely. I'm not sure. What would you guys reckon? How would you read that? What would you reckon, Cookie?
Round Tafare, I think if you've got him now, you've got to hold him. And like you said, he could be back in a week or two. And round Bula, it's probably okay as an 18th man. I don't really see a problem with that if you can loop. And that way you can have a look at what he scores first. And then if it's not, that good, you can put the other bloke above and play them.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. All right, can't afford Max. Rick's just talking about can't afford Max King unless it trade Lemuel and runs Swiley centre for this week. Yeah, that seems pretty under strength for this run home. Otherwise, next week could go Lemuel and Simpkins out to an outright centre gun. Trades low, 18k cash in the bank. Less I ditch Hopgood, anything's an option. 5 trades left. Happy to run with 3 after next week for injury, so I feel the team's pretty set. I don't know if I'd run 3 for the final 5 weeks. That just seems like disaster waiting to happen.
That's what I was going to say to you, Scoop. After next week, round 21, it's not just 5 weeks, it's 6 weeks. You've got 22, 23, 24,
Yeah.
25, 26, and 27.
I reckon you probably want 5 trades to just hold and then sit. I don't know if you can go any
Yeah.
less than that without running a lot of risks or picking up someone that you absolutely must buy, like Latrell after he drops into 85 on his
Yeah.
comeback
I
or
think
something.
a lot of people are going to be down to 4, Scoop. I think that's going to be about the average after next week.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people go from 8
Not
to 4 this
most
week.
people are ready. Yeah, and then you've got more trades. Like my team, I'm gonna have 2 left once I do next week's trades.
Oh, that is running the gauntlet. You might
Yeah.
outtrade
I'm going
Griff.
to agree with Scoop. I'm going to say you need 5, but you can get away with 4. But 4's the absolute. You need to have at least 4.
Yeah, right. Let's look at the team. You've got SurvivTuber. Can only afford one of Cleary Hearts for Fifita, considering I sell Simpkins, Sand, and Tavare to get cash down. Which one is a bigger must? Look, I wouldn't go chasing Payne Haas at the moment, given that he's going to miss a few games. I would go. Given your team, I probably would go for Fifita. Leilua as a second edge just probably won't cut it. Like, you can play Hopgood edge as well, but you've got being hurt by the bye a little bit with DeBella and Horsburgh. They'll come back, that'll be good. And Hopgood, Horsburgh, DeBellin as your main mids is pretty solid, pushing Clemmer and Max King off. Yeah, I'd probably go for Fifita in all honesty. What do you reckon, Cookie?
I agree, because he's got Hines and SJ there. I'm just seeing if he's got halves cover on the bench. Oh, he does with Ponga there. If SJ's out this week, Survive, are you going to hold? What do you think? Have you thought around that in case he is out?
I've already used all 4 of my trades this week. I can't sell SJ.
All right,
unless I pull out Preston or Robson.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but I think Fifita as well, looking at your team, I think Fifita is a must-have for you. And then I'd say Cleary would be the next one that you'd need and Haas last.
Yeah, if you're going to play Leilua week to week, Fifita is like genuinely a 30-point upgrade on that. So I think you have to go that way. All right. Timbo, nearly at the end of this. We'll finish it off with Timbo. Who's your tip for man of the match in the under-19s Origin? Ooh, I can't say I know enough of the players, really. I'd be interested to see what Blake Moser does, since we keep hearing about him. He's like, oh, he's just around the corner. He's just around the corner for the Broncos hooker position. But yeah, I'll really be interested to watch that back.
Strange is going really well. He has 2 tries already.
That's good. Ethan Strange. Is Ethan Strange a para junior? Is he like a outside back or a half in the para, or am I misremembering?
He's a centre. Let me check for which team though.
Yeah. Well, I can't say I really know Timbo, but yeah.
For Raiders.
Raiders, right, there you go.
He's a 5 for Raiders, but he's playing centre in Origin.
Cool. Well, I'll be interested to have a look at that. And if you've listened to this podcast, it'll probably be up on the website by then if they do the full match recording like they often do. So any final thoughts, everyone, before we head into one of the most interesting rounds of the year next week? What do you reckon is going to be something that's going to shock people a little bit in the next couple of weeks?
Oh, I reckon Cleary's going to... it's not going to shock anyone, but I reckon Cleary's going to hit about a 90. Yeah. I honestly reckon he will.
Yeah, I think
but let's be honest, what we're hoping for if you don't get him is that he gets to 70 or 75 and he drops 15 to 20k.
Yeah, I think
probably want him to drop a...
Yeah, you go.
I don't know, against Finns, he might get like a 60. Like, anything's possible for Cleary.
Yeah, I personally think that if Cleary's break-even was similar to where Fifita's break-even was at the moment, like if it was very achievable, I reckon we'd be much more looking at Cleary this week straight away rather than next week. Like, what is Cleary's break-even? Is it 99 or something huge like that? Like, it doesn't matter that you can't pick him up this week. Well, unless he scores like 120 or something crazy. But like Fifita, he's going to start getting away from you, and Cleary won't. So I think that's why people are talking more about Fifita than Cleary. So I can definitely see Cleary absolutely coming home like a train. It'll be interesting to see how our captains go if we switch much between Cleary and Hines when we get him in. Any final thoughts, SurvivTuber, before we wrap it up?
Not much.
Can I just add in, Scoop? While we've been on here, apparently Dane Gagai's been ruled out. So anyone looking at bringing Gagai in, don't do it. It's
Yeah.
that foot
Yeah,
injury,
he's
Yeah,
got
that
lingering foot
plantar
injury.
injuries.
plantar fasciitis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. So there's one of the center options down. Looks like it's
Is anyone looking
Valholmes,
at Nat
Umanu, and the
Butcher?
rest for gun centers. Targo maybe as well.
Nat Butcher survive just on him. I don't know about the Roosters tend to change things a lot. So my worry is what happens in 2 or 3 weeks if he's moved back to the middle rotation. Like, it's not out of the equation there. And if he goes into the mid rotation, then yeah, I don't know. I just feel a bit iffy on it, Scoop. Do you feel the same?
It's more the price. If he was back at 670k where he was a while back, I'd be happier with it. But
Mm.
like at the price he's at, there's a lot of premium guns, and I don't know if I classify him as a premium gun. I mean, he's been good recently, but I just prefer other guys. All right, I think that just about does us, everyone. Look forward to seeing the results of this and hear back from you in round 21 after the fallout. Have a good one, everybody.